Week 1 of the 2025 NFL season was incredible. We had a ton of very competitive games that came down to the wire. We saw comebacks, a couple of blowouts, and a whole lot of very fun and entertaining football. So now that week 1 is finished, let's release our power rankings heading into week 2. Now, the way that we're going to do this is I want to show you my process. So I do have a power rankings that you can see for college and for the NFL. This obviously is for the NFL. And all I'm doing here is I have a list of teams. I'm going to go through that. That is the only thing that I will be looking at. Everything else is up here, coming up with the information via memory from what the results were, so that you know this is authentic as possible, that the results that I will be talking about are just from me remembering the games and what happened. Now at number 1 that we have the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles had a very nice win. I think it was 24-20 final score against the Dallas Cowboys. They knocked them off. Why have them as number 1? Arguably their best player on defense, Jalen Carter, did not play a single snap. We saw how effective Jalen Hurts was, rushing for 2 touchdowns. A.J. Brown only gets 1 target. They still are able to win the game. The defense looked very good, their young core, and then offensively, still a whole lot left on the bone to chew, and they have a very nice divisional win in a game where they did not come out playing well on defense, and then they respond. Number 2 on this list, the Buffalo Bills. They have to be that high because that type of team effort, down 15 points, a historical comeback. Josh Allen proved that he is right now the best quarterback in the National Football League. Exactly why he won the MVP last year. It was incredible to see them continuing to battle, fighting down to the wire. They refused to quit, got the forced fumble. Ed Oliver already sealed himself, as Chris Collinsworth said on the broadcast, for the Pro Bowl. That was all him, forcing the fumble from Derrick Henry. They get the touchdown, and then they end up getting the stop, the ball back. Who knows why the Ravens did not go for it on 4th and 3. They trusted their defense. You can understand that from John Harbaugh. But because their defense was able to get the stops when necessary, no, they gave up over 200 rushing yards, but they got the stops when they needed to. And Josh Allen showed that him and Keon Coleman can develop one of the best wide receiver quarterback relationships in the sport. And of course, James Cook, pretty effective on the ground. Number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. Look, this team should have won that game. They had a 99% chance to win that game. Derrick Henry, because of one play, he turns into the GOAT, but he would have been easily the player of week 1. The Ravens are right there, not even that far behind what the Bills are. Not at all impressed was I what they did as a defense. I was surprised. I mean, Roquan Smith, the addition in the middle of the field, he's not able to make tackles. Malachi Starks, Kyle Hamilton in the secondary. There's just too many talented players to not be playing well enough, and that gives, in my opinion, a credit to how talented the Buffalo Bills are as a roster, that they're able to do that, put up over 40 points against them. That just shows me how good Buffalo is. Against other teams, you will see just how dominant that the Baltimore Ravens are. We're going to see it very quickly. I believe they've got a matchup with the Cleveland Browns in week 2. Number 4, this is going to surprise some people. I've got a team that had a sloppy but a gutsy win. The Los Angeles Rams I have at number 4. Now hold on before you get a little iffy about it. They were the only team that was competitive with the Philadelphia Eagles in the postseason. They were able to be dominant against the Vikings, who were a good team last year. I don't want to hear it. Sam Darnold was operating the offense well. They sacked him 9 times. They sacked Jalen Hurts 6 times the next round, the divisional round, and they were right there, down by 6, chance to win it, advance, and host the NFC Championship game. And a lot of that carried on over to this season. Now, did it look pretty? No, it didn't look pretty at all for Puka Nacua, whose blood was streaming down his face. Memory serves me correct. He had to miss a decent portion of the first half in a little bit. Once he got back on the field, had to make sure that bandage was fine. That was scary, but obviously looked just fine once he came back out on the field. Like 10 catches for 130 yards. The run game is there. The defense looks easily like a top 3-4 unit in football. The front seven, we liked what we saw from the secondary, that they held up right at the end, 14-9. Texans are going in after we saw the fumble, but Landman forces the punch, the peanut punch fumble, and the recovery from Braden Fisk looking incredibly athletic. Him and his former Florida State, not former Florida, I mean, the teammate currently, right? They were former Florida State players who actually look good in college, by the way. They're doing good in my college football rankings that I will also be releasing. Make sure to stay tuned to that, being released very soon. If you're watching this, it actually might even be out now when you see this video. We like talking about college a lot in the NFL because they intersect a ton. At number 5, the Green Bay Packers. They looked fantastic. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, they brought in Micah Parsons. The guy only played like, a dozen, maybe a little bit more than that type of snaps. Already showed an impact. Rashawn Gary on the other side of this thing. The lack of Micah being on the field puts me in a position where I believe that they should be that high because of Micah playing more. He's going to get more snaps. Not just him, the offense. Jordan Love looked as good as we've ever seen him. Decisive, confident, taking shots. This was not a check down fiesta. This thing was Jordan Love taking his shots down the field, opportunities, being ultra aggressive. They ran the ball well. They were bottling up Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Horrible days for them offensively. Amon-Ra St. Brown, little to nothing for them all day. The Packers looked great with a huge divisional win early. That matchup with Washington, obviously huge. I've got them ranked a little bit lower. We'll be talking about them soon. But Green Bay with Jordan Love, as much hate as he's gotten, I mean, those 3 years sitting under Aaron Rodgers, it clearly looks like he's poised, very comfortable behind that offensive line, that him and Matt LaFleur are at a point in their relationship where there's more trust with Jordan Love. And as long as he continues the trend like he's showed in glimpses without turning the ball over, my goodness, they are so scary of a team now that they have Micah Parsons as he gets more snaps. Number 6, the Kansas City Chiefs. We still have to put them this high because of how competitive they were with the Los Angeles Chargers, who outplayed them the entire game except for a brief window where they recaptured a ton of that momentum, and LA immediately responded. That looked like a very talented Chargers offense, the likes of we haven't seen. We'll talk about them in a second as well. But Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes, this guy is just on another level every time. His worst is still better than just about anyone's best. Obviously, it wasn't good enough to beat Justin Herbert at his best on Friday night, but still the defense does look fine. We're a bit concerned about the secondary. That was the type of game where we didn't see a lot last year where they missed L'Jarius Sneed. That was the type of game where they missed L'Jarius Sneed, a guy that can line up against some of your best wide receivers and cover them. They got to get the run game going, but still we have a ton of faith in the Kansas City Chiefs to respond. Number 7, there's the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels, sophomore slump. Well, not really. He looked like his normal self that we saw in his rookie season, running around, making plays. Very good in the pocket. His feet were set. Did not have a huge game, but it obviously looked like the defense helped in a sense that the Giants had opportunities, but every time they needed to make a play as a defense, get off the field, get Jaden back on the field, they could make it. That Commanders defense looks great. I love Trey Amos, their corner out of Ole Miss, pairing him with Mikey Sanders still out of Michigan, 2 very good cornerbacks, well coached from both Ole Miss and the Michigan Wolverines. They have some very good defenses. Last season, 2 top 10, top 15 defenses in the country. Both were built very good in the trenches, but the secondary ability, that helps them a little bit, but still very good players. I think Washington, with Jerzon Newton in the middle, he's going to continue to establish the former Big Ten Fighting Illini player, a dominant guy. He will continue to develop. Wagner is an ageless wonder right next to Frankie Louvu. There's a lot to talk about with Washington. Getting the run game going will be important. saw a bit out of Austin Eckler, so is there resurgence out of him? But Washington overall looks sound. Again, they play Green Bay, so that will determine. Whoever wins that game will be higher on this list. That's a big one. Number 8, the Detroit Lions. Very disappointing. It will be said by everybody. They're going to talk about Ben Johnson and his impact. I'm not going to talk about that much. I got to see how he plays on Sunday and have a little bit more to say about that. What I will say is the Packers look faster than them, and they just look more physical. Looking at the offensive line, when Detroit was there, their interior was just getting pushed back. They had no ability to stop Green Bay from getting into the backfield, having any holes to open up for their run game, and Jared Goff was efficient, right? He had over 70% completion percentage on the day, but not effective throwing the football down the field. Every time Green Bay got the ball, it seemingly looked like they were going down the field just with efficiency, just right down there. The Lions had me a little bit concerned, but still, they are a very good team. Can't all be negative. They still have a good team for fighting with the Packers for a good amount there, trying to keep the game close. Aiden Hutchinson still an elite pass rusher. Tyleik Williams, the first rounder out of Ohio State, great player there right in the middle. Obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs still is easily a top 3-4 back in the league, paired with David Montgomery. That 1-2 combo is electric. Amon-Ra St. Brown, a top 5-6 wide receiver in football by everyone's standards. This team is loaded with weapons. Great head coach that's aggressive. I don't see any reason why the Lions drop out. Now, this game against Chicago, they got to win. They're 0-1. Bears are 0-1. Both teams needed. Whoever loses will be 0-2 in the division, 0-2 overall. That does not bode well. Likely not going to be a playoff team whoever loses. So Detroit with a big win. They got to show people probably no chance to go up this week for Detroit and an opportunity for them to drop down a whole lot because the Bears are a lot further down on this list than Detroit is. So a lot to lose, not a lot to gain for Detroit this week. Number 9, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were in a battle with the Atlanta Falcons in week 1. Emeka Egbuka, we got to talk about him because this guy and what we've seen said by Mike Evans about him being in control, saying, I want the post route, I want to game the corner, right? A little shimmy to the outside, some of that Brian Hartline stuff, that he's been the best positional coach arguably in football at the college level for a long time now with all of these first rounders. Emeka Egbuka looked like one of the best players, if not the best player on the field on Sunday. So the Bucs with him and the Hall of Famer Mike Evans, can they get Chris Godwin back? Bucky Irving looks explosive. Tristan Wirfs, right, once he comes back from the injury, solidifying that place as a tackle, that's huge. The defense looks pretty good. Against Atlanta, like it was a bit shaky, right? Baker wasn't fully solid the entire day. Would have liked him to complete a higher percentage of his passes, but overall, the Bucs look like a true force, and in that division, knocking off the Atlanta Falcons is easily their biggest competition, between Carolina, who looked very bad. They looked worse than anybody in the league, and the New Orleans Saints look bad. So beating the Atlanta Falcons, that is already a huge win. They've got a big one against the Texans, who are at number 10. So we can see here, I think about the same way about the Bucs and the Texans. I think about the Texans more of what they do as a defense, right? There's Stingley on the outside who can run with anybody. Up front, Will Anderson Jr. is turning into one of the best edge defenders in the National Football League. So talented. The All-SEC, best defensive player in the SEC a couple of seasons ago. Believe he went back-to-back, if memory serves me correct. He went 3 in the draft. The Houston made that aggressive play with Arizona trading, and it's ended up working great for them. Houston and the Bucs, obviously, whoever wins that game on Monday night next week, they'll have the positioning, and depending on what happens with the Commanders and Lions, there's definitely some room for improvement. A team like the Chiefs, if they lose to the Eagles, I'll probably keep them in that 6-7 range just because of the loss to Philly, but if they drop again, there's a chance easily they drop well out of the top 10, somewhere into the teens. So the Chiefs are safe for now, but Bucs, Texans there, 9-10. Not a lot of movement, most likely. 11, the Los Angeles Chargers. You might have been wondering where I would put them because that performance was great on Friday night. The whole YouTube TV broadcast was really fun to watch. Now, Their offense, I got to talk about that immediately because a lot of people will point to their defense and limiting Patrick Mahomes, but Justin Herbert, when this guy is on time, playing with confidence, he is as good as anybody. He really is. That's why he's led the league in all these categories since he's come into the National Football League yards and the touchdowns. He's been incredible, setting all kinds of records. The weapons, though, that's the first point of why I believe he's going to improve. And we're going to see the Los Angeles Chargers very soon here in the top 10. Now, a game against the Raiders, a lot like Detroit. They don't have a lot to gain. They have a lot to lose by losing to Las Vegas. I don't see them losing to Vegas. New England was able to limit Vegas on the ground. You can see that the Chargers do that. Khalil Mack looks like he's still not aging much. He's a force off of the edge. I really like Colson for them in the middle of that defense, the former Michigan Wolverine, Derwin James, obviously, but the offense, right? We're talking about the weapons. Got off track there for a second. But Ladd McConkey in the slot, Keenan Allen, the way that they can rotate. Allen back already looks like his former self after that one-year hiatus with Caleb Williams, Eberflus, and the Chicago Bears. Didn't exactly work out, but now he's back home with Justin Herbert and with Herb Harbaugh for the first time. Keandre Lambert-Smith, the transfer from Penn State to Auburn, he's got wheels. They've got Trey Harris now. Quentin Johnston looking like the first-round pick talent they took a couple of years ago. He looked great. And Hampton in the backfield, all these weapons for LA, they look really dangerous as a whole. I've got them just above the Denver Broncos at number 12. Denver, a little bit scary with the way they played Tennessee tight, and Bo Nix throws a couple of picks. Would like more out of the run game now. It looked like they're going to split it with J.K. all day, Dobbins, and Harvey, obviously. But the defense, they look really good. We expected them to limit Cam Ward, and they did a great job. Chargers-Broncos, I believe that matchup is coming in week 3. So we'll get to see those guys square off here. If you're wondering, I mean, I didn't have any chance. This is the same thing we're looking at here, just going down the list. If I, swipe here, it's the laptop kind of turns off for a second there. Got to just click on it to make sure it stays. But we're just going through the list right now. Number 13, the Minnesota Vikings pulling out the comeback on Monday Night Football, trailing by 11 points in the fourth quarter. Storm back, JJ McCarthy getting slandered, getting talked about negatively. Gotta remember, guys, he's still a national champion quarterback. That's all he did in Michigan. The year before that took him to the semifinals. All he did was beat the Ohio State Buckeyes every time he played them. I mean, this kid is a winner. What did he do? He went out and beat the guy taken first overall when he was the 6th quarterback taken in the draft. The defense, maybe they gave up the first touchdown of the game, but besides that, they look great. Brian Flores adjusted, was able to start sending more pressure. They anchored down in the back end in coverage. I mean, this team is ready to have another push. Minnesota, they got that Sunday night game against Atlanta at home. Have to love that matchup, McCarthy versus Penix, that Washington, Minnesota. Washington, Penix versus McCarthy, Michigan, Natty, a rematch of the quarterback spot for them. Minnesota at 13. Great win on the road against the Chicago Bears. Their 6th straight win at Chicago. Really impressive. Number 14, the Cincinnati Bengals. They might be higher, but we got to understand that Myles Garrett, the way that he limited that offense, he took over that game. 2 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. He might as well have had 5 sacks and a dozen tackles for loss in the way he impacts that game when you look back on it. I mean, the Bengals, I believe, had less than 200 total yards. T. Higgins and Chase completely limited. Higgins, Chase, Burrow, Brown, all these guys are taken highly for people in fantasy football. They definitely lost some of their games this week. But Cincinnati, the defense is looking better. It was important they got Hendrickson. It's important they signed Stewart. Al Golden, the defensive coordinator, comes over from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and this is a great addition to them. I like where Cincinnati is at, and I believe that they can make a push. Them in Pittsburgh now for that second spot. I know they're 1-0. Baltimore still does look like the best team in that in that division, I should say. But each of those teams will have their crack to upend them this year. Number 15, the 49ers. Now, we have to feel out a little bit more with Purdy and how he overcomes that injury a little bit, right? They've got New Orleans this week. That's a little bit of a tricky match. I don't even know if Purdy's playing, but I've got them at 15 because they are healthy. Ayuk's out there on the field. Kittle's on the field. Kittle's out a couple of weeks. I'm thinking about when they're healthy. Christian McCaffrey, a little bit nervous for us. I've got him on one of the fantasy teams, and he looked really good week 1, catching the ball out of the backfield 9 times. He had that burst, big part of why they won. But Brock Purdy, he signs the deal in the offseason. A lot of people a bit negative about that. Goes out there, I think 6 for 6, 70 yards on that final drive, the game-winning touchdown drive. San Francisco looking great. Nick Bosa, good production off the edge. Midway through this thing here, the Pittsburgh Steelers at 16, a gutsy win on the road at MetLife against the Jets. We get a former rivalry between the quarterbacks, Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers beats his former team the last couple of years. We had a bit of that beef between him and Aaron Glenn going into this, and Rodgers chirping at the end of it. Gotta love the chippiness in football. I am all for it. He's coached now by Mike Tomlin, and he ends up saying, I wish I'd been here for a lot longer in my career. Taking shots at everybody is Aaron Rodgers. Gotta like that win from them. I mean, putting up that amount of points against a good defense and what the Jets have. A 60-yard field goal from Chris Boswell you just have to love that ability from a kicker. Now Rodgers has that confidence. I mean, man, we just crossed about midfield, and we're in range for this guy to nail a field goal. The defense obviously needs to work around it. Unfortunate that Derek Harmon, their first-round pick, got injured. Would like to see Jack Sawyer get on the field a little bit more. Cam Hayward got a little bit banged up, but it looked like he's okay. TJ Watt, huge player there. Jalen Ramsey, right, in that Minka Fitzpatrick trade. He had the play of the game, besides the 60-yard field goal, besides Rodgers' 4 passing touchdowns, knocking the ball out of Garrett Wilson's hands to seal the game for them. The 17, Arizona Cardinals. This is the spot where we can start seeing teams after Arizona that lost games in week 1, but we saw some positive signs, some splashes from them that they were able to show us that they actually do have some potential, whether it be new coaching additions or players that they have around that squad that could have good impacts. I think that the Arizona Cardinals look good. Kyler Murray had a good game. Now, against the New Orleans Saints, you have to take in consideration, I've got them very low on this list. How low, you have to find out. But Arizona, the defense, all those additions, none bigger than Will Johnson. And he just had 3 forced incompletions on the day. He played great for the Wolverines. Really impactful player. Will Johnson looking great. Walter Nolan they bring in has to obviously develop and continue to grow, but he could be a dominant force. Jordan Birch they bring in from Oregon. All these draft picks, these young guys filling in, playing at a high level. Arizona looked good against New Orleans. A pretty sound win overall. Now, number 18, I have the Chicago Bears, who up until they imploded on a holding call, had the ball up by 11, 1st and 10 at the 25. A holding call moves them back, grounding call from Caleb, and they end up missing the field goal. That fully changes the game. I even think if they were to punt and pin them inside the 10 there, that they wind up winning that game in a sense of that the offense from Minnesota had just not at all found rhythm, had not gotten going yet. But that cascade, that quick little moment, right, some of those calls, the Bears fall apart there, but they, up until that point, had looked very good as a defense without Jalen Johnson, one of the best corners in football, without Kyler Gordon, one of the best nickels. They signed to the biggest nickel corner extension, TJ Edwards, the starting linebacker. So a lot of positive signs. Obviously, they didn't hold up long enough. They gave Minnesota enough chances throwing darts at the dartboard until they found the bullseye. But the offense, we saw flashes from Caleb. Not enough consistency, though. He was not accurate throughout the entire day. It started off 10 for 10, and then what does he go? 8 for 20 the rest of the way. That's not good enough. Didn't turn the ball over, but they were not able to sustain really any drives up until they were down by 10 points of the drive where they missed the field goal. Caleb Williams has to be better because he's got as good of an array of weapons as anyone in the NFL does right now, though. Dunze and DJ Moore and Zacchaeus, Loveland, Komet, DeAndre Swift. He's got to be better. He's got the weapons around him. Can he do it with Ben Johnson? I've got faith. They got a big one against Detroit. Teams that start 0-2 have a 10% chance of making the playoffs, so one of those teams is in some dire straits. Number 19, the Atlanta Falcons, who fell to Tampa Bay. A lot of positive signs from them. You would like to have a kicker that can send the game to overtime. Michael Penix showed positive signs. Again, like the Bears, they're 0-1. They got Minnesota this week. That's a tough task on the road. Very entertaining place to play a football game with the skull chant, with the horn going on with it. There's a lot happening up there in Minnesota. I know some Vikings fans, and they love going out to games. They'll be there getting loud, getting crazy. But Atlanta, you've got one of the best backs in football. London, they missed Darnell Mooney, got to get him healthy, but they can be it's just that tough. I was going to say they could be a force in the South, and I just see it as a path to the wild card. You're ready to lose that game to Tampa Bay. It just puts you in such a narrow window that you have to win that division already. Obviously, you can go on a run, but the schedule's not easy, and those types of divisional losses loom really big. The Seahawks at number 20. Look, Seattle and Sam Darnold were not as good as on offense we thought they would be. Cooper Kupp, right? We got to get him going. Jackson Smith and Jigba looked like his former self. Obviously, they got Walker and Charbonnet they're trying to mix it up with. We saw Zabel, the first rounder at guard that they brought in, North Dakota State kid. If they got those guys on offense, the secondary with Woolen, with Witherspoon, the kid out of South Carolina, Emin Wari, like they've got players on this team. They can go now. It's just that division so tough. That's why I like the players that they have. It's just with San Francisco and Arizona making the improvements, and Los Angeles Rams, great division. They need to have good quarterback play. 20 for the Seattle Seahawks as of now. That's before the Dallas Cowboys, who I have at 21. Now, I don't want you to think because of the loss to the Eagles, I would have jumped them a lot higher. I still would have had them in the high teens. There's a lot I need to see out of the Cowboys' run defense, out of their offensive line, out of their run game, which did look good. Javonte Williams, 2 touchdowns, productive, right? Running the ball close to 5 yards a carry. Prescott being very aggressive. Pickens and Lamb out there. Of course, you need to be. Lamb, not worried about him catching the football. He's a top 5-6 wide receiver easily in the NFL. He'll be fine. It's just, you might be saying, it's just because of it's not because of Micah Parsons, right? The Cowboys have not had a bunch of success even with him on the field. I actually like the move. I'm one of those people that like the trade. I agreed a little bit with Jerry in the sense of stopping the run. Did not at all like the way he handled it. Could have maybe gotten more than 2 firsts from it, but ultimately in the future, I believe it helps you. You can build around pieces. They weren't getting it done with Micah anyway, right? They didn't get to the champ game even with him, so why was it going to change as he gets older, as Dak gets older, right? That's kind of my perspective on it. Let's move on. 22, the New York Jets. Justin Fields looked as good as he ever has. Very efficient, navigating the pocket, the rushing touchdown. Him and Garrett Wilson looking like their former connection in college there. The defense, though, not what we needed to see from New York to hold on to that game. A chance to end the game. Could not get the stop they needed to. Rodgers gets him in position for the field goal. The run game, though, Allen and Hall and Justin Fields have to like that. But what you don't like is having to play the Buffalo Bills twice still. That looms really tough to be able to beat them. Your big rivals with New England, who looked a bit vulnerable. We'll talk about them here in a second. But Justin Fields, if he continues to play at that level, the Jets will be competing in that division. They might even give the Bills a run for their money this weekend. Number 23, the Las Vegas Raiders are 1-0. You're like, well, there's a 1-0 team here. I got actually the Colts with a win at number 24. It's just as we look at that conference and what they need to do, even within their division, right? The Raiders, the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs, and then the Colts with Houston, who even lost, still in front of them. There are a lot of very good teams in that conference. Daniel Jones, I got to see more at number 24. It's kind of an interchangeable 23-24 here as we continue to go through it. The Raiders with Genti got a little banged up. Did not like that he only had 40 yards rushing and got the ball 18 times on the day. I like Geno's veteran ability. Didn't like the interception. Liked him bouncing back. The defense, obviously, you got to love the playmakers that they have. I like Thornton. I watched a lot of Tennessee football last year. Thornton, 6'5", runs a sub. I believe he runs a sub 4.3. Incredible speed. Got to utilize him on the outside. Number 25, there's the New England Patriots who lost to the Raiders. Very tough loss. Drake May not looking great. I just didn't get the game plan. Why did we only give TreVeyon Henderson a handful of carries in this game and 6 targets? He had more targets catching the ball than he had rushing attempts. We got to use our most explosive player. He had 5 carries for 28 yards. Got to get him the ball a lot more. Offensive line looked okay. Have to see May establish a bit more connection, but it just looked like they need another weapon. They could have used a Loveland or a Tyler Warren added to that line. That's going to take a bit more time. I have New England as a team that ends up going 9-8 on the season. I moved them down a couple of spots after that loss. Did not see a lot of positive signs out of May to the point where it was a lot better. It was elevated than last year. Obviously, he can be a great quarterback in this league. We just have to see him get some weapons around him in offensive line play. This thing will take time. Mike Vrabel is a great coach. Number 26, the Jaguars. Now, Jacksonville, and you're like, wait, why are some of these squads so low on it? It just doesn't make any sense, right? They beat the Carolina Panthers. Why are we having them so low on this list? Again, here, I'm scrolling here, trying to keep the screen up. I might remember the results from the games, but the list, sometimes you got to think about it. All right, here we go. The Jaguars at 26, even though they beat Carolina, they look pretty good. I just didn't like the performance I saw from Trevor Lawrence. You got Thomas, you got Travis Hunter now. The running back's good. The defense with Walker, they played well. It's just Carolina looks so bad. I wanted to see the Jags pull away earlier, but it was a dominant win. Didn't have to do much. We'll see more from them. I'm very flexible to them moving up. Got to see them get some key wins here. They'll have opportunities. 27, New York Giants. Russell Wilson very much so struggled. Got to get the desk out of the shot there. Got to move that down. That's holding my laptop so I don't have to hold it up, like this the entire time. But Giants, defensive line looked good. Your defense kept you in the game. It just looks so one-dimensional that you're targeting Malik Neighbors. You got 2 guys you're trying to give targets. We got to see the run game open up. Will Russell Wilson even be the starting quarterback when we're in the month of October? Don't really know. The Giants roster and what we knew of them going to the season, they got the toughest schedule in football. They play 11 playoff teams. Not a whole lot of ability of that squad, I don't think, to win more than 6 games. If they end up doing that, obviously they will rise up the rankings. 28, the Dolphins just looked like they didn't have heart. They just weren't in the game. Miami just with a very poor performance against the Indianapolis Colts. Don't know what happened to that high-flying offense with McDaniel. Obviously, all the stuff with Tyreek Hill in the offseason doesn't help. Kenneth Grant, he can shine on the offensive line. Right, they play New England this week. We get to see that Grant versus Henderson, little Buckeye, Michigan square off once again. Grant getting the better of that for him. But Miami, just not a whole lot of positives to talk about for them. They're going to stay in the low 20s, I think, for some time until they really show some positive traits as an offense. 29, the Panthers looked as bad as anybody in football. Bryce Young, the development, it's time. Year 3, first overall pick. You got Leggett, you got McMillan. Chuba Hubbard's, in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in the game. You took Scourton and Umamielen for the front. They got guys now, J.C. Horn in the back end. It just looked like they lacked Brian Burns, right? That veteran player, right? He had 2 sacks for the Giants. Panthers at 29. 30, Tennessee Titans. When you take a player first overall, it hurts your overall roster in the sense you can get a great piece somewhere, maybe trade back and build pieces around. Cam Ward's got it. This guy can put the ball in places. You just got to have your wide receivers come up with the catches. Got the Titans at 30 for now. The Browns, heartbreaker against Cincinnati. The kind of with Mason Graham, he develops in the middle. That front can be ferocious. Of course, the best defensive player in the game, number 95. Flacco, though, he's just not really going to get it done consistently enough for them to compete in that division. We will see. They'll have their chances. I believe they got Baltimore this week. 32 to end it up. The New Orleans Saints with a loss to the Arizona Cardinals. I know Spencer Rattler was out there playing. looked okay enough. He'll get the nod against the 49ers week 2. It might not even be Purdy with a chance for them there. But Kellen Moore, they got a long way to go as a team. All of those maturities, so to say, for you real estate people, of all of those salaries coming due, they had to deal with not a lot of room on the space. Kelvin Banks developed in left tackle. This team is a ways away from competing in the South. Kellen Moore, the coach, hopefully he's able to stick around long enough. Obviously did a great job in Dallas. Good job with the Eagles. So the Saints at 32. Let me know down below what you think of this list. Let me know where I'm right, where I am wrong, who you would change, who is interchangeable, what you need to see in week 2 to see some of this change up. We're fired up that football is back. We can actually talk about some of the games, talk about the previews, and get set for an incredible 2025 season. I appreciate you so much. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more content in the future. We make college football, NFL content daily. It is our favorite thing to do, and so we're going to keep doing it and having a whole bunch of fun. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you next time. Thank you.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blunder, hi everybody, I'm Josh Blunder.
To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa to the 20.